So just like a quick intro, thank you for joining us for our second dose with Jorrin. He is from Chicago, loves basketball, science, and art, and attends Northeastern in Chicago. So without further ado, let's get into it. How are you doing?
I'm good. Everything's good, just relaxing, having a good week so far. What about you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Can't complain. I feel like this is one of those weeks that seems to have gone by a little bit faster, but
For sure.
um, yeah, it's like bittersweet, but it's already Friday, so I'll focus on the
I
sweet
know it's
part.
crazy. Yeah.
So where I know you are going to be going somewhere after this meeting, where do you work?
I work at the Hip. I work at Best Buy. I actually just started working there a couple weeks ago. So, I was kind of, looking for a job here and there. I was a little passive about it just because I had a lot of other stuff going on. Like, last year, my first year of college, because this is technically my second year, I was a full-time student, like 5 classes and everything. So it was a lot of work cut out for me, but I still managed to do good. Like during high school and everything, that's a long story, but pretty much I didn't do the best. Let me just put it that way. And compared to like how well that I did my first and second semester of my college, my first college year, I'm very proud of it. And then, this stuff kind of all happened. And I find myself having, a little bit more extra time on my hands just because I'm not trying to really fully indulge myself into school right now because it's all online. I just don't feel like I'm learning. You know what I mean? I really need to be, I'm a very hands on person, and that's what college is. It's about, practicing what you learn. It's not about just learning it and knowing it. It's about executing what you learn. That's the whole purpose why you go to college. And that's what I want to go in, take notes, talk to my classmates. So right now I'm kind of chilling out on school, sadly. I wish I didn't because I love school. But so I'm not taking as many classes right now. I will once it's back in session. So I decided with all this free time, to get a job, save up some extra money on the side, for a car, for college or whatever the case may be. So yeah.
Yeah. So many things right there. The first off, like I feel like students are doing so much multitasking these days. Like just
Yeah.
not just like sometimes I'm in meetings and they're like multitasking this meeting and they're like in two other meetings. But not only that, but like with remote learning, there are students that are taking advantage of working at the same time going to school because you can
That's exactly what
multitask.
I'm trying to do.
Yeah. And but you bring up a great point about like school is for in person and like creating those experiences and being able to learn in person and you don't get at all that same feeling when you're just on the computer.
Yeah.
What
It's
kind of
like
go ahead.
no, yeah, no, I was just gonna say it's like, you're kind of missing the application portion of learning. And that's how I look at it. And pretty much right now I'm just taking like some basic gen ed classes, like some history class and like some kind of like English class, taking a Latin America history. I've done it before. It's kind of like a renew, like just refreshing my memory a little bit. So it's pretty interesting. Then the other one, it's a little more difficult because it's not in person and I don't know, I don't really know what's going to go on with this class per se, but, right now, this is kind of like the first time in my life that I feel like school isn't my number one priority. And what I mean by that is because it's always been the thing that's taken up the most time. Like all since I was little, going through high school, what are you doing all day? You're in school, then you come home and do your homework, right? Even, in college, I'm there for most of the day because obviously the schedule is a little different, but that's still what I'm doing with my life. And right now, I just feel like I'm in some sort of void, like I don't know what I'm doing. It feels really weird. I don't know, where we're going with all this stuff, but, I just have a positive outlook on it, just trying to make sure everyone stays safe, stay healthy, and just look at the bright side of everything.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's definitely a priority that I think all of us should have. There's so much like we don't know a lot of what's going on, so it kind of forces you to focus on the present and just like worry about what you can worry about, control what you can control. Um, when you were talking about, I know you said long story short, but what happened? Like, what was your high school experience like
Okay.
compared
Yeah.
to your?
So yeah, I'll put a long story short into a medium story. Let me do that. What do you call it? So I went to high school in the suburbs. It's called Glenbrook South. It's a really good high school. Like, don't get me wrong, the academics are really great. It's a very nice environment, to learn if you're comfortable with it. The thing with me is that I have a background where I have family that's from the suburbs and I have family that's from the city. And me, myself, I've lived in both places. I moved back and forth a lot. So when I kind of got into high school, it was kind of it was hard for me because I was really looking for like, a group to fit in with because a lot of the kids from like, my other schools before I went into high school, I just kind of like became distant with them. They're just like more and more reasons for us not to be similar. You know what I'm saying? So due to me having this kind of like social drama, I guess you could say, like not really being able to fit in, kind of being like that different person at the school, it really made my academic experience a lot harder. I found myself like lost. I found myself, not taking the opportunities that were given to me, which I really regret. I wish I did. Like I pretty much goofed off 3 out of my 4 years in high school. My first 3 years, I was trying to figure out who I am, what I want to do, what I'm trying to accomplish. And, my fourth year, I finally was like, you know what, man, you know who you are, you know where you come from, you know who your family is, bro. You just gotta, work your butt off in high school. So when you get to college, you don't have any excuse.
Right.
And that's what I tried to do my senior year. And I did do very well my senior year, except there was some drama that like I actually like there was a fight that broke out that I was involved in. I didn't start it. I was defending myself, and I guess the policy there is like regardless if you're defending yourself or not, you get suspended, which kind of sucked because
The
it
zero
was the week before.
tolerance.
Yeah, it was zero tolerance exactly. So it was a week before finals. So I missed all final review for my first semester finals. So think about it like that. The whole semester I'm doing good, right? I'm working my butt off, doing my homework on time, everything extra credit. Just for the most important week of review, I miss it. And the fight happened during my study hall too. So it's like, but everything happens for a reason. I'm actually kind of glad that stuff happened because what I wanted to do is, once I kind of got older and I figured out what I wanted to do, I really was very eager. I wanted to go to DePaul. Like that was my number one choice and everything for a long time during high school, especially my senior year. Like I was all into, I knew everything about it. I went to so many of the open houses. I knew my counselor very well. I talked to them all the time, just for them to pretty much tell me like they put me on like 3 different wait lists and finally told me they're like, yeah, we don't know. If you do well in college for a year, then talk to us, pretty much is what they told me. And I'm like, all right, I got you. I wasn't able to really display what I can do in high school academically, due to all these, formalities that were, happening that, I didn't really understand. And in college, I kind of knew what my outlook was, what I wanted to do. So I'm like, all right, I got you. So I did exactly that. I reapplied DePaul. They're like, oh yeah, please, please come, hitting me up all the time. They wanted me so bad just for me to kind of be like, you know what? I don't even know if I want you guys, you know? So that's what really changed for me. I'm like, why did I want to go there so bad? And the first thing I'm thinking of is like the education, right? Then I look at it, I'm like, I went to a high school that was so similar. It's like I look at the education, it's great, but socially, how great is it really? You look at DePaul, I mean, think about it, demographically, just looking at how diverse it is, it really can't be for the simple fact of how expensive it is. And
So true.
I've always thrived in a more diverse environment. Let me just tell you that. Like, how we're going to talk about, a little bit of, my ties, I guess we could say, to Puerto Rico. I've always thrived in a more diverse environment. So I really thought about that. And, I was going to go straight after my first year because they accepted me. But then Corona happened. I'm like, let me stay in Northeastern. So I'm glad because now I really look at it and I'm thinking about going to UIC because, I think honestly, and I'm going into business, their business programs, they're phenomenal. I love the way that they sound. I know they have really good professors. It's so much more diverse culturally, ethnically, I just feel like it's a better environment for me to fit in and better, socially network and academically network as well. So that's pretty much where I'm going for
Yeah.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah. What made you like have that moment of like, do I even want you? Like, what was it because they were giving you all these wait lists and all these hoops to jump through?
It's kind of like, they knew how much I wanted to go. They like, I remember one thing in particular that they loved is my essay. Because you know how when you're applying, you do the college essay? They loved my essay. And it's like, you see me as a person, I'm telling you what I've gone through, and it's a college, right? They can make like colleges are very it's not something that really stays the same, especially in Chicago. Let me put it like that. In big cities, colleges aren't very, stable. They're constantly changing, just like with standardized tests. They're not, they don't always have the same thing going on forever. They change what they think about. So it's like if they really wanted me as a person, they would have chose me. It's not like I had like a 1.0 GPA, or like I barely passed high school. It wasn't that bad. It was like it wasn't great, but it wasn't that bad. So it's like if they really wanted me, they could have taken me. There is plenty of people that, let's just say, when it comes like between me and them academically, I think that I could have like bested them just based off of the things that I know. And that's how I looked at it. I'm like, I know this guy from school, this dude barely even puts in any work. He doesn't like school, but he gets accepted over me. Are you kidding me? I'm
Mm.
kind of like, man, forget it, bro. Like, so that's kind of when I decided. I'm like, and then once I got in, I just get all these emails and emails and emails. Sign up for this, sign up for that. Oh yeah, we would love to have you come and this and that. I'm like, I appreciate the offer, but you missed your chance pretty much. That's how I'm thinking of it.
Yeah. So you were accepted and then you essentially turned it down.
So I was accepted, and then I didn't accept or decline. I kind of put them on a wait list. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
they gave me a year to choose. They gave me until next year to choose what I want to do. And I said, so right now I'm gonna stay in Northeastern. I'm gonna figure out this year, because of Corona and everything, and I'm gonna think about it. So more and more time has passed. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I think like I'm gonna decline. Pretty much is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. So that you can pursue UIC once it's in
Yeah.
person.
hmm
Yeah. How did you land at Northeastern?
Northeastern. So pretty much the way that I landed at Northeastern is I wanted to go to a university right away. I looked at, other universities that were, cost efficient, um, things of that nature. And then I really looked into it, just like how I said, the diversity of a lot of schools. Northeastern is the most diverse school in the Midwest. So yeah, exactly. So, I looked at them like, I feel like this would be really cool. And when I got accepted, it was through like a youth program. It was called Proyecto Palante. And so through that, it was like we had to take a freshman orientation class, and it was, Proyecto Palante. That's the class. And it was like super interesting. I learned a lot
What's
about
the
like
English
the
translation?
Hispanic and Latino stuff. Huh?
What is the English translation?
It's like moving forward, pretty much like project moving forward. Like palante is like para adelante, and
Yeah.
then it's like the short version. Yeah. So, um, yeah, they take in people from it's pretty much. So at first, I believe I don't know my history 100% on it, but I know it's like it was made by Puerto Ricans. I know that for sure. And then I think at first it was mostly like a Puerto Rican youth group, but then it expanded to be more diverse. It's not excluding of anyone. So there's a couple different youth groups in Northeastern, and that's the one that pretty much took me. And that was like probably my favorite class my first semester because we learned all different types of stuff about Hispanic and Latino stuff, history in Chicago, how they've made all these, progressions, how, pretty much how, they went from the bottom to the top, and that was really interesting to me. And I love, celebrating, that, and just looking into it. And it really made me like Northeastern a lot more, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, you bring up a great point about how you determined whether DePaul is diverse or not based on like how expensive it is, and
Yeah,
like that's a great point that maybe a lot of people don't think about is they look at the pictures, they look at the brochures, you can look at whatever statistics you want about how racially diverse it is, but what about like socioeconomically? And I felt like I went to Northeastern for my bachelor's and came from Bright, and I felt, I mean, for me at Northeastern, it like I definitely didn't want to travel for college. I didn't want that travel, and of course, I was older when I went to Northeastern, so I didn't need that like dorm life or
exactly.
anything like that. And I just loved how not only accessible it was, like parking and all that, and like being in a
Yeah,
neighborhood rather than feeling like you're in a college campus. You know what I mean?
exactly. It's
I
in the
just
neighborhood.
exactly like it's in the neighborhood. You can go to Dairy Queen while you're there. You can go to 7-Eleven. Like it's all you know.
Yeah, I know.
Having classmates that were young, that were 18, 20, but also like grandmas. Like it's
Yeah,
80, it's
that was
great,
really cool. Yeah,
it's everyone is in there. Like, and I think that a lot of the thing that students don't think about when going to college is like, college is all about like that social interaction. That's partly like what is so important and why we're missing so much when we're not in school. And you have to think about like when you have those difficult conversations in class and like with your Latin history class and whatnot, like who's in that conversation? If everybody looks alike, then everybody's kind of saying the same thing. If you're taking a race or ethnicity class and there's a 50-year-old and a 20-year-old, somebody's from Chicago and somebody's from who knows where, from a different state, it brings more conversation.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, I love the way you put it. That's kind of like that. I have a good example of that in my business ethics class that I took my second semester of my freshman year. What do you call it? I went into that class because it looked interesting, and I know it's more of a philosophical class because it's ethics, and that's what a lot of people don't know. They think ethics is like what you learn when you get hired for a job. Like that's not ethics.
Right.
Ethics is, actual discussion about philosophy, the triangle of life, reaching enlightenment, stuff like that. And, I like that to an extent because I told you I like science, I like facts, I like things that you could know and understand right off the bat because there's no other way to do it. There's no debate to it. But I also love debating and looking at all the facts and putting them together. And that's a lot of what, philosophy is. So that clash is like how you're saying it's such a diverse, not just like culturally, but like by generation, like generationally diverse. I was one of the only, if not the only, I don't know how many, but like the only freshman in there. It was full of like juniors, seniors, graduate students. And when I told them I was a freshman, they were surprised. And when they told me they were there, I was surprised because I'm like, I'm in a class with graduate students. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I felt cool because, it's just a new environment. I'm used to, high school. Everyone's your same age.
Right.
And then here you just have this, generational diversity, I guess you could say.
No, yeah, and the other thing is like philosophy and ethics, like those are like considered like the humanities courses that either might be a gen ed or might be like one of the classes you need because of your major. And some of my favorite
Yeah.
classes were gen ed classes where it's like you have business majors, you have English majors, you have science majors, but we all have to take this class, versus like
Yeah.
once you're in your last 2 years, like my last 2 years was all education, so I'm just 100% with education majors, and that's great, but then it could get boring
No,
because
no, for
you're
sure.
on
I agree.
classes.
Yeah. It's not like you could talk about something different. No, I agree for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting deeper into your content, like when in business, you're getting deeper and deeper into business, but then you're always with business people, and
For sure.
you
No, yeah, because when it's gen eds, you get people from everywhere talking to you. It's a great way to network, through your gen ed class. You don't think of that because it's like, oh, I'm in a business class. Let me talk to these business people. It's like, dude, newsflash, that's not how the world works. You get people from everywhere. That's how you're the most successful, You help everyone out, they help you out, That's how I look at it.
yeah, yeah. Um, what is remote learning like at Northeastern or in college?
So everyone has their own views about it. Some people like it because they could throw on their pajama pants and be in class. You know what I'm saying? That, of course, that's cool. I don't have to wake up, get ready, go get coffee, and like rush to school or something, get a class. No one likes that. Everyone has anxiety about getting to a place, but once you're actually there, it all fades. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I have that a lot. Like that's one of my own, like really only like stress problems because I'm pretty good at managing stress, but I have a lot of I forget the word, but it's anxiety like before you're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Uh, I get that a lot. Even if like I know when I get there it's cool, I still get it. It's just one thing that I would like to work on, figure out how, because otherwise I'm really good at managing stress.
Mhm.
But just and you don't really get that with online classes because you don't got to go nowhere. So that's one cool thing about it. I don't really have to stress out about going to school. But at the other, on the other standpoint, or on the other hand, it's like sometimes you have classes that you're excited to go to, you're excited to go into. And I feel like I don't really get that way online because it's not a in-person experience. Right now, Northeastern, they have pretty much two options that I'm aware of. I don't know if they're partially in person or not, but all that I know is that you have your complete online courses, which is just having an assignment. You read it, you do it, you turn it in through whatever they use. Usually, like Desire to Learn, D2L, or they do virtual learning. That's what it's called, or remote learning, RL or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's what we're doing. It's Zoom. You Zoom with the whole class. You talk. You write in the comments and stuff like that. And it's the length of ordinary class at Northeastern, which I think is like an hour and 15 minutes. If I haven't forgot, it's been a while. I forget the times or whatever. But yeah, it's hour 10, hour 15 minutes of Zooming. But so that's pretty much to answer your question. But in my opinion, like I was talking about earlier, I just like being in the classroom. I'm more hands-on application type learner. Like for instance, like one really good example that kind of stresses me out a little bit is like at my job right now, pretty much for the past couple weeks that I've been working there, all I do is online training, online training, online training. And it's like, it stresses me out because I'm like, am I going to know how to do this when someone asks me? Because I want to go and do it, have someone show me how to do it on the machine. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just how I am.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's pretty much to answer your question, though.
Yeah. 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 It's hard to learn something online. It's hard to learn a hand skill online and then have confidence that when you do need to troubleshoot something that, okay, I'm going to remember the manual. Yeah, that's
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You don't remember the manual, you remember your manual,
right.
That's
Right. Yeah, no. That's a great point. That's a great point. Let's talk about your background, what keeps you busy, your passions.
okay. Yeah, so background, I mean, most of my family is from Chicago. Uh, some of my so most of my dad's family is from Chicago. Most of my mom's family is from the suburbs, and that's kind of like they met at like the other side of the railroads. You know what I'm saying? So I really have that exposure to both backgrounds. I know what it's like to kind of be low in the ground, sleeping on an air mattress, but I also know what it's like to live in a nice house. I've been around. I'm not one of those people that stayed at the same place for their whole life. Like I will never know what that's like. Some people say they love it, other people say that they hate it, but that's pretty much where I come from, my family, and then obviously, so by blood, I'm mostly white, but I have a lot of family that's Puerto Rican and from Puerto Rico, and a lot of friends that are from there too. So the reason that I get really into it is because just like how I told you with high school, trying to figure out like who I am, what makes me happy, what kind of people I want to be around. I really found just like a home in like this community. Just kind of looking back to my childhood, what part of it made me happy, Was it with all my friends from school, pretty much just to set it straight, like all the white kids with the big houses? Was it that what made me happy? Or was it, in the city where it was, a lot of the Hispanic kids, like, the Puerto Rican kids, a lot of Mexican kids when I was younger, because when I was younger, I used to be, stay, back and forth from like by the Brickyard neighborhood and then around in Lincoln Square too. And when I was younger, it was a lot different around here. It wasn't nearly what it looks like here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Kind of when I was younger is when I made that transition. But that's what really got me into like the community and stuff. Just loving it. Just repping it right. Gotta show my family off. Gotta show what community makes me happy. So that's how I get down with that stuff pretty much. And when it also comes to my craft, I guess you could say, is one of my crafts, I would say, is basketball. I love basketball. I'm not someone that just goes and like plays here and there. I will go play by myself for hours, shoot around, practice, try to get better at something that I love to do. That's the one thing, everyone has their one thing they do to go relieve stress, forget about everything else in the world.
Yeah.
And that's what it is for me. It's basketball. I could play, alone. I could play with 100 people. Regardless, I'm gonna have a good time and forget about everything else.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to art has been in my family in every single form that you could think of. Music is probably the biggest one. Like I have a lot of my uncles, a lot of like, my people like from my mom's side that I met like when I was young through her old boyfriend. Like I've lived in a studio before, like straight up like like I've lived in a music studio before. So it's all been around me, just and a lot of it was a lot of Spanish music. My mom, she was more into like rock and roll type stuff. My dad, he likes all types of stuff, but when I was younger, it's mostly rap. But I've come to like, I remember I just always loved Spanish music. And when I got older, I was always listening to old school rap. That was kind of my thing. But I just like, I don't know, like a lot of people didn't like it, so they kind of, made me look at other stuff, and I found, I just love Spanish music. That's like one of my real big things, like reggaeton, like salsa, merengue, bachata, all that stuff. I love it all, and that's like one of the things I started doing. You heard it. I made my first reggaeton song. I've made like multiple songs in English before, and I only do it for fun, just because it's been around. It just makes me happy to do. I I'm one of those people. It's like a lot of people, they listen to a song, they're like, oh, that's a good song. When I listen to a song, I'm like, I wonder if I could do that.
Right.
And that's kind of how I look at it. Like a lot of times, like if I hear something, because you know how music is, like, and then let me get to my science side. When you listen to music, it releases, these chemicals in your brain. Especially if it's like a song that you really like and it makes you feel good. It makes you feel some type of way about listening to, a certain like harmonization of a chord or a certain beat or something. It just makes you feel a different way depending on what the scale is on. For sad music, certain chord or certain harmony might kind of bring you down, and that's like how you want to feel. Or it could work the opposite way too. When you want to feel happy, you listen to something that's kind of bumping, you get
Right.
all excited. So when I listen to something, I think I'm like, could I do that and have someone else listen to it and feel that way too? And that's how I look at it. And that's kind of what made me want to do like some reggaeton, because that's what I've been listening to. Like I've listened to it a lot when I was a kid, like Daddy Yankee. Oh my God, that's my boy. That's like when I listen to that, I just think about like being in the back, the kid's seat or whatever, just listening to that. But what do you call it? So, I went in the studio, I tried to do that, and I got like amazing feedback from my friends and family. It meant so much. It made me like want to do it more. People told me that I could do that for my profession if I want, but I still really love business. And like the reason I like business, I'm kind of hopping around from topics, but they all kind of connect. That's why.
Yeah.
But, the reason I love business is when I was younger, my grandparents on my mom's side, they had a lot of money, but my dad and my mom, just when I would be with either of those two, it wasn't a lot of money. So when I was at these schools, a lot of these kids, they kind of made me feel bad. Like I was embarrassed when I had to pull out the EBT card to get snacks for my friends. They're like, why does that card look like that? and I was embarrassed. Now I'm like, hey, okay, free food. But back then, it's kind of embarrassing when you got, all these brand new toys, brand new phone, and I'm here, buying stuff with food stamps. Obviously, I'm not gonna say I had it the worst because I know so many people who've had it worse, and I'm blessed to be, where I am, have the childhood I am, because it's really humbled me to be able to understand from both sides, you know. But that's, like, I know what it's like for me to kind of be almost discriminated against when it comes to money, and just like culturally too, because I like the way that I talk. I remember that was a big thing in high school. Like, people pretty much, they like made fun of me, like a lot of, because it was majority white, they like made fun of me for the way that I talk, because I have some sort of accent or whatever, because I don't talk like they do, and because I was a little different, from where I come from in my family. They didn't have a family like I do, and they don't understand what it's like. So, but I celebrate it. Like, you think it's weird, man. I love being weird. You could all be the same if you want. I love being different.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? But so when I was younger, I see all this, people kind of looking down to me. I'm like, I want to make a business, and I want to have the biggest business in the world, have more money than all these fools. And then, because that's how you think. I kind of wanted revenge almost. And as I got older, I got more mature. I really looked at it. I'm like, and that business ethics class too really taught me, the triangle of business, the triangle of life, business, philosophy, and ethics. It's like, if you're going into a business just to make money, it's not going to make you happy. That's not what makes people. Money does not buy happiness. So many people are like, yes it does, yes it does, yes it does. All right, dude. Like, for a perfect example, look at all these NBA players talking about mental health awareness. It was just mental health awareness day, or it's the whole month, I believe, right? And they're all talking about it. It's like, these fools have millions upon millions of dollars. Obviously, it's not something you can control. With money, it's not something you can control. It's emotions. It's the difference between like computers and being human. So that's how I look at it. And what really makes me happy is helping people, giving back however I can, doing whatever I can for, my family that made me the way that I am. And that's why I want to go into business. I want to make a business to give people that don't have the opportunities that I had, to give them an opportunity in some way, whatever it is, and also a way for me to make ends meet for my family to live comfortably.
Right.
So, that's why I want to go into business now. So, as I've gotten older, it's still been that way, because I love so many different things, and business is just a way to kind of put all of it together. And that's always why, because people, they're like, obviously you could tell I talk a lot, and they, they always say like, oh, you could be like a public speaker. I always love science, like, oh, you could be a scientist. I the music and everything. Just, what's the one thing to put everything that you love together? It's business. You
Yeah.
could do so many things with just, one degree, really.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to go into. I want to help people. I want to do everything that I love and put it into one thing, and use that to help people and guide people, to give them opportunities, especially in Chicago, because I know the injustice that lies here, and I know that it's real, and I've seen it firsthand with my, own two eyes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Business definitely puts you in position to help others, to help the people that you want to reach. In what ways have you already helped the people around you?
oh, that's a good question. I think the way that I've helped people around me, that's a good question. I mean, because I'm trying to think of like a specific example.
Hmm.
Uh,
Or your
because I
culture?
mean, yeah, just I mean, I guess really just showing people that anything's possible, honestly. There's, so many people have told me that I, like, when I was in elementary school, for instance, I remember this until the day that I die, because I promise you, no one else in that school heard it, that I was the only kid that's not going to go to college. And while these kids are out in high school partying, doing drugs or whatever, what am I doing? I was making I was making theories about particle physics on how antimatter works. It's like I'm a little nerd over here. You're over here partying. I think you should be the one worried about college and your future, unless you want to worry about, you know, your parents' money. Then that's different, because a lot of people, that's going to be their way out, is relying on what their parents did for them. That's not what I want to do at all. You know, I'm lucky enough and I'm blessed from my grandparents. They told me, you know, on my mom's side, that they want to fund my college and they want me to do it my way. And, you know, I've told them, because, you know, obviously whenever it's money, regardless of what it is, you know, debates come in. And I've told them, you know, plenty of times that, you know, regardless of what the money is, I'm going to do what I want to do with whatever money there is or not. If I have to, you know, be in debt for however many years to make a difference in my education, I'm going to do that, because money is not an option when it comes to me wanting to learn. So, you know, when it comes, what I've done to help people, it's really just showing them that anything is possible. You know, I've done so much stuff, you know, that has helped me learn a lot about science and being able to teach people. I've taught people so many things, you know, just showing people with art. It's like, it has nothing to do with being good or being bad. It just has to do with you wanting to do it, you having this creative image and just going to fulfill it. You know, that's how I look at it. You know, and one thing I was telling you too is about painting. It's like, I'm a graphic designer. I've owned businesses. I own my own graphic design business right now. So, you know, I do commission where you want something, you know, however you want it, you tell me and I'll make it for you. And, you know, I've done that for several years, and everything in graphic design I've taught myself. When I took a class for it, I had already known everything in it so well that I ended up like dropping class in high school because I wasn't learning anything. So everything I taught myself, and I'm very proud to say that I did that. And that's really helped me look into art in a whole nother standpoint, because my dad, he's like a really skilled artist. Like, he's really good at drawing. He's really good at like scripture writing or graffiti writing, you know, all that stuff. He's a really good artist. And just him showing me how to do it, and me really just, when I'm feeling in the mood to just write something and draw something, it's a whole different, you know, emotional experience when you're doing it physically. That's why I want to learn how to paint. You know, I want to learn like the techniques. Of course, you know, just like how I said, it's not about being good or being bad, but you could always learn regardless, you know, and that's the best way to show if you really do care, to listen to other people and let them give you advice and let them give you constructive criticism. So, you know, that's pretty much what I think about it, and, you know, how I help people. I definitely want to do it more than just show you that anything's possible. I want to do it to make things possible for people. You know, I want to make it easier for people, because there's been so many people in my life that's made it easier for me. So I want to be that person in someone else's life to make it easier for them.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. What is it called? Passing it forward.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, yeah. And when you brought up revenge, like your younger mind, like revenge in that way, to be like, I'm gonna have the biggest business and have the most money.
Yeah,
You know, sometimes the best is just kindness and like giving back, and like having giving them no reason to hate because they
exactly.
like,
That's
yeah,
that's how I look at it. You know, I'm not a hater, man. Like, you know, I'm gonna show love even if I don't necessarily agree with it. Like, if you're doing you and you're happy doing it, even if I necessarily don't agree with it, do
right,
you. You know, I'm gonna do me. You do you.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
yeah.
I heard something that reminds me. I heard something the other day. I forgot where I got where I heard it, but it was sometimes it's sometimes the best opinion is not to have an opinion. You know, some people are like, oh, I want to have a good opinion, blah blah blah. Sometimes it's not even your business to have an opinion. It's just this
I agree.
thing should happen, be happy, together, or
No,
going
I
on,
agree
going,
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, no, because I mean, I look at it like that too. In another way, it's like when two people are having an argument or a discussion, and you don't necessarily know enough about the topic to make a comment. It's like, instead of making and forming an opinion just based off of what you're hearing from this argument, because you know both sides are biased, like right off the bat, go do your own research and form what you think is right, regardless if it's an opinion or you're just looking at straight facts. That's how I look, because there's been so many times, like, I love making my own argument about things, when at the, in the right setting or right environment. I'm not just gonna, talk to someone about it at whatever time, just make a random argument, but like at the right times, like it's happened a lot at school. Like we'll be talking about something, either before or after class, and I really want to get engaged and involved, but I just don't know enough about the topic, and I don't want to like take someone's word. I don't want to take their word for it. I want to do my own research and take my own word for it.
For sure, for sure. What if you were to give yourself a piece of advice last year, like think of October, whatever last year, what piece of advice would you have given that Jorrin?
Last October, I honestly, last year, like especially my first semester of college, even though I did really good academically, just mentally I was at like a low. I was going through a lot of stuff. A lot of people that were very close to me, I wasn't talking to them for whatever reason it may be. I was going through a lot at the time, and it was really hard for me. So honestly, and I thought it would never end, but honestly, what I would say is just remember that time heals everything, and remember that even when you seem like you have no one, there's so many people that love you, and that's how I look at it.
Yeah,
Because
no, definitely.
I wasn't able to give myself that advice, but just foreshadowing on it, like I feel like naive to not think about that. Like I should have been saying that to myself, but yeah, that's what I would say.
Time heals everything, and don't forget people love you. Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Where do you see yourself this time next year?
This time, dang, honestly, it depends on the Rona. Like, all right, I'll give you two timelines. Let's say, dang, this is actually hard.
Yeah, there's like two routes. It's
Yeah,
like
it has, so it's the Rona or no Rona. I mean, if Corona is still happening, is still prevalent and dangerous, this time next year, most likely I'll probably still stay in Northeastern because I'm still comfortable with it. I had nothing wrong with the education. Like at first, I felt like it was kind of moving slow for me, but then as time went on, I'm like, okay, these are some classes. Like I can keep myself occupied with this stuff.
yeah.
So yeah, I would say I'd probably stay in Northeastern just because they're still doing well with the virtual stuff, making good accommodations and everything. Um, and I would see myself, still taking classes. I just see myself still working at where I'm working at. Also having more reggaeton songs out and being a better painter. That's for both timelines. That's for both timelines. And then if there's no corona anymore, everyone's safe to go back into school, or at least more safe to the point that we're able to go to school. I see myself at UIC.
Mm,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. Yeah, I like how we had to like break down the two different possibilities
It's
depending
crazy.
on the world events. Well, we are coming to a close. I know you have to like, get ready for work and all. Couple closing questions. Okay, a fun one first.
Okay.
Complete the statement. Never have I ever. So I'll start. Never have I ever had Taco Bell.
For real?
For real.
Dang. This one, like to some people might shock them because I mean, never like I don't never have I ever been to Puerto Rico, so
And when is
I was,
that when is that going to be a priority? Like or when would you like to do that?
it's been a priority for so long. I mean, I was supposed to go with my dad like three separate occasions, and those all fell through. Ended up just him going with whoever and not me. And I was supposed to go March, and then that's when everything got closed down. And I mean, I wanted to really go before 2020 ended, but I just don't know if I really. It's just not going to be the same experience. But at the same time, it would be an experience like no other because there's never going to be a time, cross our fingers like this again for a long time. So, I mean, maybe the end of 2020, if not for sure when Corona's over, like 100%. The day that they let out, I'm like, okay, I'm going, like for sure. Yeah, but yeah, that's one.
That kind of gets to another question I asked yesterday, but you kind of answered it, or I guess I'm assuming the answer. But if you were to go anywhere in the world, is it safe to say you'd go to Puerto Rico?
No, no, I'm playing. Yeah, and yeah, definitely for sure.
And who would you like who's on your plane with you?
Ooh, that's a good question. Oh my God, probably. Hmm. Probably my dad, because when I go there, I don't want to go as a tourist. I want to go into like the jungle. I want to go, live in the mountains. I don't want to just like chill out in San Juan and take pictures in front of like restaurants or something. That's the last reason I would want to go there. I have Chicago here, so
Yeah,
definitely probably my dad, because I know like if anyone would like has done that before and would want to do it again and knows his way around, then I would go with my dad.
yeah, yeah. No, that's real. That's real. All right, let's close out with a piece of advice that you would give anybody, or an affirmation that you tend to use, or maybe just something that like a rule for the road piece of advice.
Dang, if I knew this, I would have thought earlier, but you're putting me on the spot here. I don't want to, because I don't want to say like some corny one that like everyone says, like just do it or something. But what do you call it? A piece of advice. Hmm, dang. I don't
Maybe.
know. You tell me a piece of advice and maybe I'll get something from that.
Ooh, well, you kind of did hit us with a piece of advice when you said, remember people love you, and like when
Yeah,
you're.
no. I mean, yeah, of course, that's one. That's what I guess you could say that, like, no matter how alone that you're feeling, just remember that so many people love you. There's people out there that love you no matter what. Even if you might think that they don't, love is strong, It finds its way through the darkest times and it gets people through stuff. So,
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely a good note to end on. Jordan, thank you so much for
thank
joining.
you
And
for having me.
yes, yes, this is only the second dose, but so many more. And I hope to have you back, and I hope to have like
Sure.
conversations like all together.
But
Um,
that sounds awesome. Yeah, for sure.
yes, yes, yes. So, yeah, have a great weekend.
You
Thank you
too.
all for joining. Whoever's watching this
Thanks
right now.
everyone who's watching this. Sorry I talk so much, but yeah, I have to give you the interview next time. So
I'm ready. I'm probably not, but I'll get ready.
yeah, that's how I was thinking before it started. I'll probably not, but I'll make something up, right? So cool. Thank you for having me for real so much. It was great to see you. I haven't seen you in so long, so
And this is kind of like seeing, but not really seeing. But
not
yeah,
really. Yeah, you know what I mean. Cool. But yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Let me know when you want me back, and I'll stay tuned for all the next ones coming up.
absolutely. Thank you for supporting.
Yeah, no problem.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, so that was the second dose for Youth Are Here. Our first one was Armenia yesterday, and tomorrow will be Morales. So we're going to keep it going and hope you stay tuned. Bye.